Good morning. How are we?
Morning.
Good
Good
Morning.
morning.
morning. Good morning. Good
Morning.
morning.
Morning. All
Good.
right.
How are you
What?
feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Good.
Finally. All right. So, what's the feeling out there? I don't want to spend 1,000 minutes here on this, but what's the feeling in the marketplace right now? What are you hearing? What are you feeling?
People are a little bit worried.
People are a little bit worried about
Um, about
Value.
sales, values, you bet.
home values.
Not
Correct.
just home values, sales.
Okay, I've got some really good data today on this.
I'm stagnant. I'm having great conversations. I know my scripts, but getting people to take action is just more difficult than it ever has been.
Got it. All right. And there's no right or wrong here. It's just feelings are feelings, right? And when we go into these industry update calls, we're trying to be aware of feelings, but then get into data and action around how to address it, right? So, uh, one thing I think the seasoned pros on here would know, and the newer people would start to learn is on the residential side of real estate for sure. Feelings are a very real emotion inside of transactions, right? And people are not wrong when they have a feeling. The question is, what comes out of your mouth after the feeling, right? Like somebody said, I'm worried about my house not selling, or I'm worried about the interest rate, or I'm worried about whatever the conversation is. The question is, where's your skill in your script or your data point that addresses the feelings? And hopefully we'll get into a lot of that today. So let's roll. Mr. Bass, how are you?
Doing good, doing good. Looking forward to this morning.
All right. So here, I'm going to say this before we jump in. Um, we spent a lot of time talking about the stats last week, and I think it kept us from getting to the articles. So this week, I'm going to try to go quickly or more quickly through the stats so we can get into some of these articles, just setting an expectation. All right. I want to start with this article. It says, today's skills-based market demands of real estate agents. And what is a skills-based market? Well, in real estate, there's always an ebb and flow, and there's hot markets and softer markets, and we've gone through this over time. You know, those of us that have been around forever like to tell you how many recessions we've lived through, and it kind of sounds like walking to school both ways, uphill in the snow, right? But the reality is we are in a market where your skill set is much more needed in order to make the income you desire. And what does that mean? It means your professional level skills, you're actively developing your skills. And the reason I want to start with this article is it says the numbers don't lie. And right here, it's talking about, 167 calls on average to close one transaction in 2019. By 2021, that number dropped down to 127. But by the end of 23, it was back up to 220. So today, it takes over 267 calls to sell the same number of homes. Here's the thing. You might hear those numbers and go and get tired. And this is what the cyclical real estate industry looks like. I mean, our efforts, as much as we love the fact that the real estate industry says the harder you work, the more money you can make, it does also translate to we work harder in softer markets than we do in faster markets. And this is just a visual of what that is, in the sense of, 167 calls to make a transaction to 127 to 220, and now it's 267, which is 100 more than it took in 2019 to get that transaction done. Now, what should you hear in that? A couple things. One, you're not crazy. You are working harder today. You should know that. Two, um, if you're not working harder and you're banging your head against the wall, this should be your light bulb moment going, man, this is that moment in time when I just need to push harder into my database, push harder into my lead generation, push harder into the activities that I know cause me to find the success that I'm looking for. And just trust that there will be a moment in time in the future, it won't be that hard. Does that make sense? Some of my seasoned pros, what do you think about that conversation?
I thought those numbers were pretty interesting. I mean, 2019 makes sense, right? With 167 calls to close one transaction, but to get to 267 now, we hear it all the time: double down, double down, double down. But if you think about it the opposite way, like you said, it's a light bulb. If you're not doubling down, it's like you're getting half the results. So
Yep.
you could look at it either way. I mean, numbers don't lie.
Well, that's what it says.
That's what they say.
Yeah. Somebody
It's
else.
no different than what Gary
The-
Keller said from stage. Same thing. If it took you 2 hours before, it might take you 4 now.
Yeah, and there's
Yeah,
always
and that feels discouraging. That feels tired. That feels like, oh my gosh. Yet it is what it is, right? Like, I mean, if you were gonna
Exactly.
go run a marathon tomorrow, you're gonna have to go kill yourself getting in shape for the thing. But if you were just running a 5K, you might not have to do the same prep, right? And if somebody goes runs a marathon tomorrow, God bless you. But just the analogy. Go ahead, Rick.
I was just going to say there's always quality in the quantity. And so if you're not getting the quantity you need, the quality you need to double the quantity. It's that simple. Look in the rear view, whatever you did in the past 12 months, if it didn't succeed, that you didn't succeed the way you wanted, you've got to modify and you've got to track your numbers. And it's always a people puzzle. At the end of the day, the more people you connect and communicate with, the more opportunity shows up. Make it a game. That's all I'm suggesting.
All right.
Here's the unsaid part of what's in this article is if our agents today can do what they need to do to succeed in this market, as we start coming out of this shift, you are posed to do better than you have ever dreamed of in your real estate career.
Correct. That's a great point. You know, that's straight out of the Shift book, right? Like,
Yep.
Those that are doing the work in a down market have exponential return when the market turns. And I actually believe we're on the cusp of the market turning. But that's crystal ball kind of stuff, and we'll see where it goes. All right, the 3 ways to win in the 2025 skills-based market. Master the tools that give you leverage. Most people understand or have a CRM, yet are you actually utilizing it for leverage? Where is AI showing up? We were at Mega Agent Camp last week, a week before, and 70% of the content was AI. And I was overwhelmed by it, full disclosure, like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in kindergarten. And yet, where is the leverage that I need to get in touch with people to move my business forward? Elevate the client experience. Clients need an expert. Referrals used to come from being a friend in real estate. That's no longer. Clients are looking for expertise in this market. So, oh, I have a friend that's a real estate agent. You should call them. Does work. That's your SOI referrals, but they are looking for expertise in how to navigate not a challenging, but a not normal real estate market, right? And then the bottom line is great success comes from having a play and doing it daily, or having a plan and doing it daily. you know, the cadence, the atomic habits, the daily lead generation, the script practice, the all the stuff that you create a daily habit around that cadence, if you will, is where great success comes. And the sporadic, when you think about it, lead generation plan doesn't work. It works to some degree, but it's just not going to work the way you need it to work in a skills-based market. The other thing that's not in this article that I wanted to bring up is this call, this industry update call is everything about being a skills-based agent. Let's give you the data, give you the talking points, give you the activities, and we'll rock. All right. Interest rates. I have been waiting on the day to come here and say it's below 6.5, and they're just going to make me wait another week. So it's 6.52 right now. And there's an article on Housing Wire where Jerome Powell is talking about how the labor market is the one thing that's going to either dictate if the rates come down or not right now. And he admits that there is a fear of the labor market softening. So what happens is they work inversely, meaning if employment gets worse, they're going to want interest rates to come down to speed the economy up. So if the labor market starts to soften, then the Federal Reserve, the powers to be, are going to want to speed up the economy a little bit. And when that happens, the way they do that is they pull the interest rates down for more spending and more all the stuff. So it looks like, I mean, if I go back to our chart here, and I go to, oh, let me see if I can find it. Dun, dun, dun. If I go find unemployment, give me 5 seconds. Sorry. Here we go.
Still a historically low number.
It's still a historically low number, right? Right.
Yep.
Yet it is going in the other direction right now. So at one point we were down in 2% unemployment rate in South Florida. It's slowly creeped up. Last summer we got up to 3.3. Right now we're at 3%. The government believes it's healthy as long as we're less than 6%. Yet the financial institutions get nervous when it starts to climb. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and job creation is directly reflective of where that might go because there's still population influx and people who need to enter the workforce.
Yep.
And I think they're trying to, it sounds more proactive than reactive this time, which is rare, it feels like to me.
Yep.
So it could be a positive sign for your prognosticated reduction in interest rate.
Yeah. And look, I think in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to come on here and say it's below 6.5. Do I think it's going to really move the market? Probably not as fast as we all would like. But yet I also believe 6.5 translates to more buyer demand. So we'll leave it there. All right, numbers. Broward County single family, as I said, I'm going to run through these a little faster today so we can get into some of these articles. The active inventory came down under 1,000 in Broward for single family, 950 basically, but we had an increase in properties going under contract with 209 active under contract and 162 in the pending category. So that's 371 properties that
Hey, Brett.
moved to the pending status. Yeah.
I'm on the website and it looks like those are last week's data still.
Oh, let me hit refresh. Doom, doom, doom. There you go. So this week, thank you, Michael. We went from 948 last week to 914 this week. So it's still coming down. And we expect that in the seasonality, right? but we still had 196 go under contract, active under contract, and 174 on the pending. So what's that? 200, 370 compared to 371 the week before, which is a big increase in properties going under contract from the previous weeks. And I would almost venture to say that's interest rate driven a little bit.
It also might be the hometown heroes money coming um into play.
Okay. Tell me about that, Nadine.
So it's money that's available to Florida residents if they're, different counties are offering different or not incentives, but different down payment assistant programs. And that money was all released in July. So those might be, at least for closing ones. But that money I believe, is still out there. It hasn't run out in all counties. And I think that's helped people come into the market from mid-July on and actually have pending sales and closed sales.
I like it. All right, so the pendings are at 174, closings at 246, which outside of the 291 at the end of the month, it's our largest 7-day total in non-end of the month weeks. So that feels good. I mean, if you look at July 28th, we had 234, and August 25th, we had 246. I mean, normally July is a little bit larger of a month, but we'll as we get more and more data. Rick and I were talking over the weekend. We're like, man, we can't wait for more data to show up to give us more insights, right? Because we're comparing to only 5 weeks of data right now. But nonetheless, all right, on the condos in Broward, we've got 333 active status change. We had 89 go under contract and 70 go pending, which is what, 159?
Oh,
159 go in the pending status in the last 7 days. Almost 50% of what came on the market. We had 109 close out in the last 7 days. And then obviously I'm expecting, and I think y'all are as well, the expired canceled in the condo category is just going to get out of control here for a little while. I'm going to skip villas and townhomes, but I'll just put it on the screen real fast so you can see it. If you're interested, we're going to go to Miami-Dade single family. Let me hit refresh. Thanks to Michael's insights. There we go. All right, 812. Single family came on the market in Miami-Dade. We have 120 that went under contract. We had 153 go pending. That's 273. And then we had 203 close out. So, I mean, it's healthy activity. Is it on fire activity? No, it speaks to that article we were talking about earlier, like, this is where you got to be on it, right? Like this is the skills-based agents are getting these transactions. In the condo category, 397 came on the market. 63 went pending, which is the largest active under contract we've seen so far. And 73 moved into the pending category, which is the third largest we've seen so far. And then 92 closed out. So healthy is a relative term. There's certainly movement happening. And if you're listing condos, one of the questions I'm going to ask you here when we get to one of these articles is what is your strategy when it sits? And we'll get there. Here's the townhouse villas for everybody to take a look at. If we run out to Palm Beach County, and I got to do the Michael Weisberg refresh here. We had 755 active inventory change, and then the 224 largest week for active under contract, 124 in pending. So that's 348 that had pending status change this week. and then 234 closed out. Condos, 239, which is pretty close to the largest active status change they've seen there. 74, which is tied for last week for largest we've seen since we've been tracking. And then 33 are pending, with 78 closed out. And then just to throw the villa townhouses up here so everybody can see it. All right. I want to bounce to one article. And this article here is on Inman this week, and it says how to solve listing problems without jumping to a price drop. And I'm going to tell you where my brain went when I read this article. It's almost like doing a listing audit. And if you had a listing audit form that you filled out prior to talking to a seller about their property that sat on the market for a period of time, what would be on the listing audit? Well, this article talks about buyers start to wonder, is it overpriced or a hidden issue? Why hadn't it sold? Listing rescue, the diagnosis before price adjustment checklist. Because I think in a real estate coaching context, it's really easy and probably most appropriate to talk about price. And what price can we get this property down to get it sold? Yet, there are some other things that you could audit around your listing. So the first thing is, how do you check the marketing pulse? Review your online presence. Are the photos scroll stopping or just meh? Who was I talking to? I was talking to, oh my gosh, I forget who, on Friday in Aventura, and she's telling me, she's like, Brett, my jaw is on the floor at how many condo listings in Miami-Dade County the photos are taken with iPhones. And I'm thinking, nobody's hiring professional photographers anymore. And is professional photography a important thing to get your property sold? I would say yes. But apparently there's a lot of inventory that agents aren't even spending money on professional photos because they don't have a high, what's the word I'm looking for? High confidence that the property is even going to sell. So I guess you could do a marketing audit first. The second test is, what's the first impression test? Drive by yourself and see what stands out, and not in a good way. Walk in like a buyer. What's the smell? What's the lighting? What's the vibe? Is it staged or is it at least decluttered? Buyers make emotional decisions fast. Audit the buyer feedback. Recheck the competition. Review your timing and market conditions, and then have the honest seller conversation. But I was thinking when I read this article, I was like, man, I bet you I could drop this article in Chat GPT and say, create me a listing audit form. If my listing sat on the market for a little too long, here's some suggestions. Could you create me a listing audit form that I could fill out and go over with my sellers? What do you think?
I've worked with buyers for, years and years and years, and not as actively of late, but what I know is that buyers want validation often and will share, a potential purchase with friends and family, and often out of state. And if you really almost have to sell their friends and family as much as them in some cases, not always, but if they're not going to be able to get into it, I mean, there's no better representation than, with incredibly professional photographs and video and drone footage, just things that help it stand out. You don't have to be 10 or 100% better. You have to be 1% better than the competition. And perception is reality.
Yep. Somebody else.
So I think you have to audit your attitude about your listing also. I think your attitude about it. For example, I have a listing and I call it my hoarder's listing. And I changed my conversation in my head to this is rentable right away. So it flipped how I'm marketing it now, because most condos are not rentable right away. And I also think sometimes, and this is from being in retail many years ago, sometimes you may have professional photos and just moving the photos around to make it appear like it's something new online gets more eyeballs. There's several things you can do and then be able to say to your client, look, we've done this, we've done this, we've done this to change it. I think we really now need to look at price after you've gone through your audit and made all of those changes. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
100%. You know, Nadine, when I was a big listing agent, I kind of had like my board of directors of peers,
Mm-hmm.
and I would text them and I'd say, do me a favor, will you take a look at my listing and give me open, honest feedback? And I would do the same for them. I didn't do it with everybody, but I had the top agents that knew what they were doing. And we would audit each other's listings and give real feedback like, hey, I wouldn't have this as your front photo. I think the description's not serving the property well. Um, Maybe take refresh photo, whatever the feedback was. I think sitting on an island and not talking to anybody is actually a mistake in this market. You should have a peer group, a board of directors that y'all work together to get each other's properties sold. Somebody else.
I do that as well. And I know, Nadine, you had just mentioned about updating your photos. I do that, try to do that every week and just move the photos around a little bit. And then I also will change the description a little bit just to try to get it more traction. And also, photography is real estate 101. It's not even a question that we wouldn't have pro shots in there. I can't imagine that realtors are still doing that. It really does matter who you hire. And it doesn't matter if the property is a lower price, it still deserves the attention that you are promising to give it when you sign that contract.
There you go.
I,
All
I
right.
think it's a video, Matterport, every listing, every time.
Yeah. You know, Dave, um I remember a moment in time when I didn't have financial resources and I was in this industry and I was trying to do my listings as inexpensively as possible. And the reality of that is I was hurting my sellers and I was probably making my job harder. So I think you've got to get to a place where in your personal financial business reserve accounts, you're saving and you're accounting for I have to do it the right way. And my reputation deserves that too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't mean to sound flip, but when this is a business that you started, and if you don't have money put away, that's fine. But there's something in your house that you can sell that you're not using. I've moved and I looked at all the crap that I had. I mean, there's stuff that you can get rid of to finance your business. So there are ways.
Yep. All right, I'm going to move forward. So we've got this article, thanks to Luke, off of Redfin's website. And Redfin tracks where people are moving to, from, and where people are moving. I don't know if that came out right. Where people are moving to Fort Lauderdale from, and where people are leaving Fort Lauderdale for. Um, so Miami obviously is the number one uh, inbound market that's coming to Fort Lauderdale, with Washington, D.C., San Francisco, and Boston and LA kind of topping out the top five. And then if your people are leaving, where are they moving to? Well, four of the top five are still in Florida. The only one outside of Florida is Minneapolis. And I thought that was rather interesting. What do you do with this information?
Reach out to referral partners.
Okay. What else?
Mm,
Market and add in those area as well, whatever listing we do have.
Yep.
Marketing using social media.
Okay. Target ads, right, Alex?
Correct.
Yeah, I think if you're going to spend money targeting, this is really good intel of where to spend the money. I also think this could translate into your value proposition to sellers. You could put this into your own marketing material. And when we talk about being a skills-based agent, when we talk about going to a listing presentation and being the expert, you could have a sheet that said, this is Alex's intel. And part of my value proposition is these are the top 10 markets that actually are probably going to have the highest probability of buying your house in Fort Lauderdale. And this is how I target those markets.
Brett, what I'll usually go ahead and do is kind of use some big words like utilizing Google Analytics. I know where to go ahead and target markets such as here.
Yeah, those are big words.
They like them.
Yeah.
All right, let me throw a broker comment in here for you guys.
Go ahead.
Because this past week I just dealt with an unhappy consumer who wrote a very long letter to Gary Keller. Luckily, she had the wrong address for him, but eventually made its way to me because a realtor in one of our offices marketed their property online to the Northeast, basically saying, if you don't want to live in a city overtaken by socialists or communists, we'll accept you here in Florida.
Yeah, we don't recommend that, do we, Richard?
Yeah, that is not what you need to be doing. Now, thankfully, the agent understood, took the post down immediately as soon as I reached out to him. Watch what you're doing online, guys.
Perfect. All right. Well, we also have this for Aventura. We also have this for Coral Springs. Luke, if you could drop those links in the chat. They're very different. And the purpose is not to teach you what cities. The purpose is to have the conversation of how to use the intel in your business. So I'll get Luke to drop those in the chat here in a minute. All right. What's going on? This local city among the nation's highest for canceled home purchases. Fort Lauderdale home purchase cancellation rate reaches 21.3%, second highest nationally. What's going on?
People are taking their property off the market when they realize they're not able to get the price that they're looking at, and they have enough equity that there's really not forced to go ahead and sell.
well, is that listing or is that buyers?
So this is actually the property is under contract and it cancels.
Because we're going through what we went through years ago where we have so much inventory, people are locking up a house and still looking.
Or they're locking up 2 or 3 houses at a time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's stupid, but yes. And they're picking their favorite, but they're like, yeah, this one might do, but we're going to keep looking at other things.
Yeah.
This also comes down to the skills-based discussion around the buyer consultation as well.
Yeah.
I will tell you with our team, I tell our agents, guys, protect the buyer's escrow, but have the buyers leave larger escrow deposits.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you have $10,000 in escrow on an $800,000 property, I mean, the market could have a bad week and the buyer could get spooked and they'd rather lose the $10,000 in escrow than $50,000 if the market starts to really, take a deeper dive. So how you structure these deals is important if you are working with buyers and you want to keep them under contract all the way to the end.
I also think it's a matter with condos of making sure you have all the information up front, that you have all the information about the inspections that they've had and any assessments. You need to have that up front before you go under contract. If at all possible, you need to get that information and be, like so they know what they're getting into.
Yep.
Also look at what contract you're using. Are you using the as-is with the right to inspect, a contract for sale and purchase?
So I'm going to challenge everybody to have a bulletproofing the transaction conversation at team meeting this week.
Yeah.
That's a
Go to your
chapter.
team meeting and talk about it. What should we be doing to bulletproof the transaction?
An entire chapter in the Shift book.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
bulletproofing. Go back to Shift. It's timeless.
All right, I'm going to give everybody a homework assignment. This article on the South Florida Business Journal talks about residential real estate market cools as homes and condo prices fall in South Florida. It breaks it down by condo or by county. And I promise you, it's not as drastic as you think.
That's
So single family Miami-Dade prices slid 1.5%. Condos slid 4.5%. In Broward, single family prices slid 0.8%. Condos slid 0.9%. In Palm Beach, prices slid almost 5% on single family and 6% on condos. So actually, Palm Beach is the worst of the three in terms of pricing. And I want you to read through this because we're out of time. But the last article just talks specifically about this Palm Beach. It says homes are selling at the slowest pace in this South Florida city. West Palm is probably one of the most depressed markets right now in South Florida. Read through these. We're out of time. I want you to get the data out of it. But bottom line is, this is just intel for you to be the expert of choice. And do we have the social media scripts? Did we drop those in the chat?
I saw them
So
I saw them in our text chain. So they exist.
I know they exist. I got to find it and then I'll drop it and we're out of here.
How do I get on the text, that text thread chain?
Which text thread chain?
Oh,
I thought,
sorry.
I thought he just said that.
That's
There's
Brett just pulls articles and sends them in advance over the weekend so that we can prep.
Oh, got it.
You get all of the articles. They're all posted in the chat right now.
Yeah, this is our scramble prepared text thread ahead of time.
Make sure we're good to go.
We're about 2 weeks away from having a better delivery method for you all. Whenever Miko gets back in town, we're going to be rolling stuff out to you guys so that this stuff will get to you before the call, at least an hour before the call. So you can read through things beforehand if you would like.
Brett, can I remind everybody of one thing on the way out as maybe a final thought, is that if you're struggling, you're probably one good closing away from loving yourself more and feeling invigorated by the industry. It is a numbers game. Richard nailed it. Two things. One, there's more opportunity than ever because as agents pull back and invest less and potentially leave the industry, there's orphans. There are people that need to be in your database because you're the consummate real estate professional. And the thought is, make sure you're going where buyers are. Refine your narrative and message. Get your energy right. Nadine nailed that. And I remember an agent who moved to Austin, Texas back in the 90s, knew nobody, and crushed it year one. She made her strategy open houses every single day. Like, be in places where buyers might actually show up. Hold an open house, drive time, drive home. You know, maybe harder in certain condo communities, but opportunity exists. You just got to find your way there. If you're sitting at home, or you're in your office, they're probably not going to walk in and tap you on the shoulder.
All right, guys, have a good week.